Hey you, come, gather around the campfire, and welcome to the party. This is Party Chat, a JRPG podcast where we talk about everything that we love in the world of JRPGs and other Eastern titles. I am one of your hosts, Cameron Hawkins, and with me, as always, is my party partner, Kevin Kenson. Kevin, how you doing?
I am doing pretty good on this fine, what day is it morning? Wednesday. It's Wednesday. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing, Cam?
I'm doing I'm doing good, but I'm also like super I don't think anxious is the right word, but I'm definitely freaking like low-key freaking out about some things. Twice announced their tour dates yesterday,
Mm,
and pre-sale is next week, and I'm like, "Oh, that's that's going to be a lot." Like, to be clear, I was like prepared, like I was prepared, but I'm also it's just like hitting now like, "Oh yeah, that's like a lot of money I'm about to spend to go
yeah.
see them." Yeah, and they have two LA dates, which is dope. So,
Well, that's
I'm
that's
going
like
to
that's like the
go ahead.
second thing I've now heard of for you. That's just like a surprise. Guess what? You need to spend this much money now. Between
Well,
that
well,
and the next Final Fantasy drop.
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Th-
Well, no, this technically 3 now because the PlayStation Secret Layer
Oh
that's
yeah.
dropping yeah, that's,
Are you gonna
yeah,
try and grab
I
all seven of those?
yeah,
Madness. Absolute madness.
yeah, I yeah, like, those cards are gonna be super hard to get if I don't do it now.
Sure. But do you need
Um,
all of them?
I mean, need is a subjective term.
Fair enough, fair enough. But yeah, so 3
Uh,
things total. Two of them
yeah,
thanks
like
to
because 'cause
Wizards of
they're
the
doing
Coast.
another super drop in, like, next week, and I'm not going all out on that one. Like,
That's like
they're doing a bunch of
Jaws and
Iron
Kirby,
yeah,
right?
so they're doing Jaws, which that one I am getting. There's, like, 3 different Furby ones, there's, like, 2 Iron Maiden ones,
Dwight.
2 the Dwight yeah, so, like, I'm getting the Jaws one, I'm getting the Dwight one, and I'm getting the Artist Series one because it comes with a demonic tutor, and that's, like that alone is worth the $40, you know what I mean, for
Yeah,
the
no,
whole
Demonic
set.
Tutor is definitely like a high demand, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and the art's really good. Um, but yeah, no, I'm good. We're good now. Um, but yeah, so twice tickets going on sale in a week, and but on top of that, like there's some cool things that are happening that like have happened slash are happening. I saw One Battle After Another, which is the new Paul Thomas Anderson film with
Mhm.
Leonardo DiCaprio. Um, a lot of people were saying like this is like the film of the decade, like the best film
I have been
of the
seeing that.
2020s.
Yeah.
I don't I don't feel that way as someone who is a purveyor of film as well, but I think it's fantastic. Like it's definitely fantastic, but like I don't think I like it more than like Past Lives. Like Past Lives is probably my favorite film of this decade so far.
Mhm.
Yeah, so very good. And then there's like a bunch of films that are coming out this month that I'm looking forward to. There's the Smashing Machine. I want to see what The Rock got. You know what I mean? I want to see what Dwayne's gonna do.
Mhm.
And then Twice is actually releasing a documentary in theaters for like their 10-year anniversary. Um, they're also and then the Chainsaw Man movie is coming out. So very excited about that. Have you watched watched Chainsaw Man?
I have seen what's been adapted into the anime. I have not read
Okay.
ahead in the manga, but
Okay.
yeah, I have watched
Okay.
the anime up to where it ended right now.
Yeah, because I know that you say that you don't like really like to watch a lot of shonen anymore, but like
Yeah,
this
which
is not like your traditional shonen, and
it
so
is
I just
not.
wanted to yeah, so I just wanted to make sure like you watched Chainsaw Man, right? Because that
Yeah,
shit's so good.
I did watch Chainsaw Man. I will say I don't know if I love it as much as some people hype it up, but I do enjoy
Mm,
it. I do like it a lot.
okay,
I think it's good.
cool, cool. Well, we got a lot of news today, as just like last week. Not well. Kind of. A lot of news stories, but I guess like not as much in-depth talk, I guess. It's just more like, hey, this is a thing. Just want to share the news. And then yeah, we got a pretty meaty topic of the show for this week that I think will bring some good conversation. Before we do that, we're going to get into some housekeeping. If you've been enjoying the podcast, please go to youtube.com/@partychatjrpgpod. Hit the subscribe button over there and give us a 5-star rating on your podcast platform of choice. It really helps us a lot. If you want to help us a little bit more financially, we do have a Patreon that gives you a few rewards depending on what tier you subscribe to. You get access to our exclusive Discord. You get the episode a day early before it goes out publicly. Our Q&A episodes, which are basically just me and Kevin like chopping it up for a few hours every month, as well as our Campfire Catalog, our book club podcast, where we talk about a game that we've played. We're gonna be recording our episode on Lunar 1 and 2 soon, and then we're still working through Legend of Dragoon because that is a long game, and there's been a lot of games to play recently, but we're gonna definitely have that out by the end of the year. Lastly, go to youtube.com/Kevin Kenson and hit the subscribe button over there as we try and get him to 1 million subscribers before the end of 2025. It's got some really cool stuff coming up soon. So, news for this week. I think the main stories revolve around Dragon Quest VII Reimagined. As y'all know from last week's episode, if assuming you listened to last week's episode, there was a bunch of news coming out just regarding a bunch of JRPGs, and some new stuff was released between recordings of the podcast regarding Dragon Quest VII. So this was reported by I apologize for if I say the site wrong. It's a Japanese site. It's Den Feminico Gamer. That's what I'm going with there. They basically reported some changes and additions that Yuji Horii has confirmed content-wise for Dragon Quest VII Reimagined. They said that they're adding a new scenario called Childhood of Hero and Maribel, as well as an arena, but they're also cutting scenarios Grondel, Providence, El Ciclo, and then they're getting rid of the casino, the immigrant town, Monster Meadows, and the Excellence Grading Organization. Kevin, you've played Dragon Quest VII.
Yeah,
What is all the?
not to
You haven't?
completion. Well, I
Okay.
have played 7, but it is not on my I have finished list.
Okay.
But basically they trimmed a lot, which is, I mean, like, we kind of knew that based on the whole like reimagined pitch. Because the thing about 7 is that like it is overall a very long game. Like, it has a very long opening kind of startup, and then there's quite a bit of like optional side stuff that is basically just exploring different islands and like taking in all that kind of stuff. And it seems like part of the goal of the reimagined is they really want to. I'm not going to say there's like no side stuff, but you know, have a much greater focus on like, no, there is like a main central plot thread we want players to like experience, focus on, and get done. And I'm sure there will still be some side things there, but it seems like it's a lot less than in the original version.
Do you think that in the original, because there's so much side stuff, the game kind of loses focus on the main story and it
Uh,
gets a little bit lost in the sauce, or is it
I-
just more?
like a little bit, but I think it's kind of a hard thing because while yes, it detracts from pursuing main quest, I think it heavily feeds into the overall theme of the game, which is very like discovery exploration heavy, right? Like
Mhm.
it's this weird balance of like it's not quite an open world game, it's not directionless. There is like an order to things that need to happen and be done. Uh but at the same time, a lot of optional stuff. a lot of optional stuff. And I think that feeds heavily into, again, this theme and concept. I mean, they really lean into the whole idea of like you're on a ship exploring islands that are like literally coming into existence, and it does take a lot of time away. I think it can mess with like the pacing of the main story, certainly. Uh, but I also think it does like serve the general concept of the game, you know. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out in this redone version.
Yeah, because I've said on the pod I haven't played 7 yet, but I think that there's been just like enough changes kind of confirmed at this point where I'll probably play the reimagined for the my first go around, and then I like eventually will go back to the 3DS version and play that and just kind of see the differences, see like if I liked the changes that they made, things like that.
Yeah,
Because
I'm not necessarily planning to start and finish, but I was thinking the same of like breaking out my cart and try to get a good like 6 to 8 hours in or something, just to like have the fresh memory and what the experience is like.
yeah, I know a lot of people were specifically like devastated that the casinos being removed. Like I know that there are casinos in the Dragon Quest games, but like I don't really fuck with that in a real way.
Sure.
But like apparently that is like a Dragon Quest staple in a way where it's like blasphemy that they're getting rid of it.
Right.
And so I'm like, dang, okay, I didn't know that the casino cooked like that. So but more on just Dragon Quest. Yuji Horii, and this was reported by Automation Media or Automaton Media. Yuji Horii was on a Japanese talk show. At least I believe it was a talk show, a radio show, where the one of the people on the panel, I don't know if it was the host or whatever, basically mentioned like, yeah, why is this coming out before Dragon Quest 4, 5, and 6 remakes? And he basically said like, oh, there are various projects happening. This just got done quicker. This
Yeah.
got done first, and we're gonna release it, which makes sense because it's a different team and
Yeah, like an
uh
entirely different. Like I get, it's nice having the official clarity on that, but
yeah.
like whenever I see that question right now, I'm like, because this is like not the same kind of thing at all. Because like
Yeah.
1 through 3 were all the HD 2D treatment, and it would make a ton of sense for 4, 5, and 6 to follow the same like logic. This is like a full 3D redo with the using like the whatever they are, the clay models as the base, and like this is a different team, different style of remake. Uh, Makes perfect sense to me that like it was just being developed in tandem, and like yeah, this one finished up before all the other HD 2D ones do.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because I also think that 4, 5, and 6 are all gonna have like their own separate releases. Like I don't think there's gonna be like it's gonna be released as a trilogy or
Oh,
it's
for
gonna be
sure.
released as like 6 gets its own treat.
No, yeah,
That's just
no,
not gonna
no.
happen.
Like 3 was released alone. The only reason why 1 and 2 are bundled is because 1 and 2 are especially short, like in
Yeah.
retrospect, and like they
Yeah,
can fill up in
exactly.
content. Yeah,
And so there's gonna be probably assuming that we get like Dragon Quest 4 remake in a couple of years, like let's say fall 2027, still gonna take like till the end of the decade for that trilogy to be done, probably.
yeah.
And you know, I would rather release 7 now and not just hold on to it for 5 years.
Well, it makes me curious too. Like I feel very confident in at least 4, 5, 6 happening HD 2D. I'm
Yes.
much more unsure slash curious of like 7, 8, 9. Right? Like I think. Well, 7 we know, but like 8 and 9. Sorry, I meant 8, 9, 10. Offline 10 at that. Um, what are the chances of any of
Yeah,
those
offline
being
10, I
created?
don't yeah.
Yeah, I don't know because we didn't even get the base one out here, right? Uh,
Yeah.
just a very curious thing to see if they get touched in because I know a lot of people who love 9. Um, Nine's a little bit different. It feels a little bit more like the old school ones in some ways because it is like the class based focused approach with like a silent protagonist and random recruit characters. Basically, like there's not a lot of party personality, um,
Mhm.
but the job building is very popular. And it does a lot of other things really well. Uh, so like I know people have been hoping for that to come back in some kind of form because it had a release in the DS and nothing since. Uh, 8 is a very popular entry that has been re-released a couple times now. We had it on 3DS, so like there was a way to play it there. But I'm sure people would not be opposed to bringing it to modern platforms again. Uh, yeah, I'm very curious how many more of these are in the tank outside of 456.
I think we're gonna get everything. Like, it would be bizarre to me that they would say, like, "Hey, we're gonna remake 7 of the," outside, not including 11 and 10, because 11 is still recent enough and 10 is an MMO. We're gonna stop there. Like, yeah, do 8, but like, and go all out on 8 in a way that you're probably not with 7 Reimagined. Like, 8 is one of the most beloved JRPGs of all time. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that we need like a Final Fantasy VII remake treatment, but I'm just saying that, like, hey, this should feel like, if kind of like, I think it should feel very Dragon Quest 11 in the sense of like production and things like that, and just go really all out.
Yeah.
Um 9 is interesting just because it's such a dedicated DS type game, in a way that none of the other Dragon Quests are, and also Level 5 developed it, and like, so what does that all look like?
Yeah.
That is the one that is like, if it didn't happen, I would understand, but I would want them to use use as many resources as they could to try and make it work.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
like the best way I can
and
explain
then
it.
10 especially is like extra weird because it was an MMO that then got an offline version and like, did they ever touch that again? It's very
Yeah.
interesting. Like I do think this gets a little off topic, but like I think there's a part of the reason we have such a heavy push of like remasters and remakes right now is because not that they're like never going to remaster or remake a game that comes out today, but I think there's less push because of I feel like we've hit the point where a lot more games are now assumed forwards compatible, right? Like ecosystems are going to get supported a lot longer. The actual like structural design of a lot of computers, unless there's some kind of massive tech shift, in however many years, like, there's an assumption I think now that games released today are going to be supported on many more platforms ahead than like, the PS2 or GameCube. And it's like, yep, that was a system, and maybe those games get remade or ported, maybe they don't. And now it's like, oh, things are released multi-platform, and they're released on systems that are coming out with new systems that are just the exact same thing but more powerful, so it's backwards compatible, and et cetera, et cetera. So
Yeah.
this does feel like a lot of companies are just trying to catch up and like bring as many of their greatest hits like to this new kind of current age of support.
Yeah, and then there's still weird instances for JRPGs that you feel like, based off of that logic, would be in the process. We would know that they're being worked on, that we don't, like
Chrono Trigger,
Skies of Arcadia.
also that, yeah.
But yeah, Chrono Trigger, that's, yeah, it needs support.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm curious with Sega because Sega does seem like they want to bring back a lot of classic stuff. It's just kind of they're working through some things right now, and like they're reviving IPs at the moment. So we'll see.
yeah, but you don't think that they could have like a third party studio do that? Just like give it to them and just be like, hey, remake this, and then oversee it.
Sure. I think it depends on what exactly the goal is with like what the remaster remake treatment is. Like, are you trying to just make it playable on current platforms and like support some higher resolution textures, or are you trying to like remake this thing? You know what I mean? I think depending on their goal, there's different degrees of vetting for like, if you just want like a good solid port job, yeah, there's probably some companies they would feel comfortable outsourcing to. If they wanted to do some kind of like bigger deal kind of thing, maybe they want to keep that in house. Maybe that's a long term plan. I mean, we've kind of known rumors of Skies of Arcadia just because of the trademark thing for this year, which hasn't really come up at all. As we're getting close to the end of 25. I don't know. Yeah, it'd be great to see that happen.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. Uh, next story. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth director Naoki Hamaguchi has shared that he would love to remake Final Fantasy VI. This was in an interview with Windows Central, where he said, quote, "If I had all the time and money in the world, Final Fantasy VI is my favorite mainline title. That would be very cool to take on as a remake. That being said, I put my heart and soul into the Final Fantasy VII Remake series for over a decade now. Working on something completely new would be quite fun as well," end quote. Do it. Just like, do it.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be neat. I'm, based on how I overall I have my back and forths about the writing direction, but I absolutely love the mechanical aspects of Seven Remake. So it's like, you know, I think Six is one of those ones where it's very beloved, and I think there's maybe a bit of care in like how you want to approach remaking that, and what does it mean to remake it, and what's your end
Yeah.
goal. Yeah, and thankfully it is one where versions of it are available to play. Like we got the Pixel remasters, which you might have some hardcore fans give some arguments for and against why that may not be a good version to start with, but it's at least a viable option to experience a form of that game. And so like a more drastic remake kind of thing could be cool. Could be pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, I think that having the game readily available on modern platforms, the original version, like that is one of those games where it's like, hey, if you don't have the original on modern systems, like doing a remake just kind of feels weird to me, like because the original is just so beloved in a specific way. Similar to Chrono Trigger. Like if Chrono Trigger did get a remake and it wasn't like what I think a lot of people would more so want, which is a HD 2D esque, not particularly like blatantly HD 2D, but like that kind of vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of like a full 3D type remake, it's like, hey, you should like offer the original experience if you're going to do this.
Sure.
Because it's, widely considered the best JRPG ever made. And if you're, I think that having that original version for people to have access to readily needs to like be a thing if you're gonna
No,
remake
for
something
sure.
like that.
Oh, well, that was even my
Um,
take with like Seven Remake, right? Where like I really enjoy what they've been doing overall for the most part.
mhm.
But I would be considerably angrier if there was like no way to play OG7, right? But there is ways. Like
Yep.
there's a remaster or at least like basic line port of it available on everything. So,
Yeah.
cool,
And,
great.
yeah, absolutely. And I think that Final Fantasy VI would be interesting just because like would they do like a two-part story? Like I'm not saying like it needs a full trilogy, and I'm not saying that I want it to be like narratively structured similarly to 7.
Mhm.
I would want this to be pretty like one for one, just based off of like what people have told me about 6. But like I know that there's definitely like a turning point in that game,
There's definitely a
where
cleaner
like
like before after cutoff.
yes,
Yeah,
there's very much a part 1, part 2 of that story, and I could definitely see them structuring it that way. I could also see them structuring it like um as it's just a one complete game. But I also know that when you add in like 3D elements and you add in like cinematic cutscenes and things like that, that really stretches the length of a game. And I know that like for any for most JRPGs that Square Enix makes that's not Dragon Quest, they want those games to be like a tight 30 to 35 hours. And I just don't know if like that would be doable for Final Fantasy VI remake hypothetically.
yeah. If they would have been
Um
a full 3D one, absolutely.
yeah, if they did a full 3D one. Yeah. And see, with Hamaguchi being the one saying this, like I assume that would be the route that they're going to go, right? Like that team would be the one that would be working on this, but also like begs the question as to like, okay, where's Final Fantasy 17 then? Would like is that like a different team under the same business unit or business group? I forgot what they call it now. um and then they're working on that while he's working on that. Um Not sure, but they also he also like said in a different interview, I forgot with what outlet, but it was a very much like a short thing where he basically said that he is producing other stuff right now. Like he is involved in other projects. And so, who knows what that looks like. This could be like a slight tease. It could also be nothing.
Yeah.
So, who knows? We kind of have to just see what happens. But we're also probably not going to hear much about that until after Rebirth is, or like Remake Part 3 is out. So, next, uh, we're getting a Parasite Eve inspired sci-fi horror RPG called Parasite Mutant. That's coming out next year for PS5 and PC. The game is being developed by Ice Citruna. They're the developer behind a game called Frontier Hunter, Ezra's Wheel of Fortune. This game reviewed fine, like it has like a 73 on Metacritic. So like, just to kind of put into some perspective, there. Um, so there's a little description that they released, kind of like explaining what they're going for here and some of the parts, the elements of the game. They say Parasite Mutant is a science fiction horror RPG set in the distant future. Psionic agent Nova was sent on a mission to an abandoned and secluded island city filled with horrifying creatures, not knowing that what happened on the island will completely change her fate. Key features: combat system. Parasite Mutant will use ATC active time chains, which combines the popular active time battle system used in RPGs of the late 90s and a 3-segment chain system. Players will need to time their actions on each segments and decide whether they want to save their energy and do a chain release. As the gauge fills up, players will need to dodge enemy attacks and launch their attack at the best possible time. Art style. Parasite Mutant will uses a semi-realistic anime art style and utilizes modern rendering techniques to give our players an HD visual experience. Additionally, we have introduced a retro filter and CRT filter to bring players back to the late 90s to 2000s vibe. Setting. Parasite Mutant is a survival horror game with a diverse array of horrifying mutants. In the game, players will solve various puzzles in search of answers and maybe uncover the horrifying secret of this universe. Level up system. Parasite Mutant uses the classic equipment progression system. Players can attach various models onto their equipment or enhance their equipment using plus points that can be obtained through combat. New Game Plus. Parasite Mutant has a New Game Plus mode that allows players to inherit plus points from their previous playthrough. The New Game Plus mode unlocks new locations where players have to continue to strengthen themselves and complete the final challenge. And then there's also an outfit system. There is an announcement trailer that is out, that gives you a little bit of the experience, but it looks cool. It looks neat, and we have surprising lack of Parasite Eve inspired games. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like it's one of those things where again, this dev's track record so far, not bad, just not particularly great either. Um, but no one else is doing this, so it's like, all right, like you're automatically getting that attention, which is great for them. I hope they land it. I hope they nail it. It'd be great. Or maybe just have this be the signal flare for other people to go, oh, maybe people want this.
yeah. uh, Next story. Namco general producer Yusuke Tomizawa explains why the games of the Tales Remastered project are releasing out of order. This was posted by Automaton Media as well. They say, quote, "We have to start by finding out where the source code is and who's managing it. It's a bit embarrassing, but since there were multiple different development studios working on the series over the years, we have to find the original data first. And when we do it, it can be full of gaps, which takes months of an analysis to deal with."
Beautiful.
Yeah,
I love how that's just consistently the thing. Like, it just comes down to
yeah.
the fact that until like 2010, no one cared about source code, like keeping it around or figuring it out. Like, and even actually
We're
probably
not gonna
later than
need this
that.
anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And like I love how many people get surprised by that kind of information because it's like, yeah, because that team finished their job and was like, yeah, cool, project done, it shipped. Why would we need that anymore? You know, forwards compatibility was not a thought back then, and probably still isn't that much of like for some devs even still. Uh, yeah, and so they got to find it, and that's pretty beautiful. That's actually interesting to highlight too. That part of the problem is the fact that so many different devs did work on Tales over the years. Like I sometimes forget how there wasn't really like a singular studio, and that each game was basically like a different team pretty consistently for a while. Uh, so the idea of like, hey, who has that anymore? Like, dude,
Just
whose office? Yeah.
imagining a company-wide email like, "Hey, who's got the source code for this game, this Tales game specifically?" Next story. Konami has confirmed that Metal Gear Solid Volume 2, the collection, is still in the works. It's still happening. There was a Metal Gear production hotline presentation. This was reported by Video Games Chronicle, where the series producer Noriaki Akamura confirmed that work on Master Collection Volume 2 is still in the works. They said, quote, "Since we called the first installment Volume 1, it's only natural to expect a second one. And that's what we said years ago. But as we repeated several times, we are making it. We've been working on it properly while also producing Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. When the time is right, we'd like to share with you all news on not only its progress, but also the direction going forward. I'm sorry it feels like I have to say this, but please wait just a little longer. How long is a little longer actually means, it's hard to say, but the project is moving forward properly, and we believe it's shaping up to be something really enjoyable. So please wait just a bit more, for more information is coming." Cool.
Yeah.
That's a nice little update
It's
there.
I wish they would just, and I understand why they don't yet, because they probably want to wait until it's actually like in full production swing. This is definitely like a, I mean, not to say it's not in production, but like they want to wait until they actually have a launch date ready. Um, but it'd be really nice if they just confirmed like what Volume 2 even actually is. Like, there's all kinds of fan assumptions right now of what games like can or should be in the mix. MGS4 is still trapped on the PS3, and like that feels wrong. Like there should be a way to play that game today
Hmm.
outside of PS3. Um, there are of course some very popular specific entries that would more than likely be on it, like Peace Walker. Does it go all the way to 5? Does it include some of the weirder other PSP spin-offs? Like what exactly is actually in this collection, right? Uh, and we don't know. We just know that they made one and called it Volume 1. So a Volume 2 sounds like it should happen eventually, and they say it is. Uh, we
Yeah.
just don't know what it actually is.
Yep. And honestly, as long as MGS4 is on it, that's fine with me.
That's
That's
really the
that's
big
real.
one. That's that,
Yep.
yeah. Because there are at least some other. I mean, like realistically, if you want to have a nice collection of all the current ones, like Peace Walker's got to be on there. That's pretty essential. Um, I don't know if they would want to go as far as 5, just because 5 was like a modern system game. It's been a
Hmm.
while now, but like it is playable on current systems than any kind of re-release. So whatever. Um, yeah, 4 is definitely the most in demand though.
Yep. Next story. Capcom shared that Resident Evil Requiem wasn't initially planned for the Switch 2, but once they realized how well the ports like the development for the ports of 7 and Village were, they were like, I think we can do this, and that's how they decided to make a Switch 2 version. So
It's
good chance we're gonna get the remakes of 2 through 4 as well down the line.
that's so wild that not only like it's cool that they're bringing it over to Switch 2. It's wild to me that it's coming out the same day as the games that basically inspired them to make that port happen. That it's not just like,
Yeah.
you know, it's not like 7 and 8 came out and got reactions. They're like, okay, yeah, we can make a 9 port work. It's like they got partway through working on those ports and they were like, cool, we're going to port 9 as well, actually. And we're going to drop all of these on the same day. Kind of wild.
Yep. Yep. Doug Bowser is stepping down as the what COO? Yeah, COO of Nintendo of America at the end of the year. He did make a short statement saying, quote, "Today I announced my plan to retire from Nintendo effective December 31st, 2025. Nintendo has been an integral part of my life for 44 years, starting with Donkey Kong Arcade as a kid in college. It has been an honor to contribute to this incredible company and bring our beloved characters and worlds to fans through our video games, theme parks, and movie experiences. I extend my best wishes to Devin Pritchard as she leads Nintendo of America moving forward. And I thank all of you for your passion and support of Nintendo. And you can count on me to remain a Nintendo fan." End quote. Yeah, I mean, like, Doug was a solid COO. Like, you know, I think him having the last name Bowser just like really allowed people to have fun with him
Yeah.
in a cool way. It was funny too. I actually had a very funny interaction with Doug Bowser online where he was at I think he was at the park, and I saw like a video on Instagram, and I swear I thought I was watching a Vin Diesel video, because Vin Diesel, like, I follow Vin Diesel on Instagram and he posts like a lot. And his post was like, a lot of the time when he posts, this is very random, y'all. He like has this really close up like face shot a lot of the time, and it's like down like this way.
Yeah, where it almost warps the
And
features a little.
Doug
Yeah.
did the exact same thing, and they're both like basically hairless, light-skinned men, you know what I mean? So I was just like, I literally commented like, I thought you were Vin Diesel, and he
I
thought
think
it was really funny. He actually responded being like, "That's really funny."
I think I saw that interaction actually when it went down. Now that you mention it, I remember that.
Oh yeah, that was a really random thing, but I just wanted to share that story. Um, but yeah, so Devin Pritchard is taking over. She's worked at the company for a long time. So very, very cool, and congrats to her. And then in other news, Satoru Shibata is joining he's joining Nintendo of America. He's worked at Nintendo for a long time, like 40 years. But he's joining Nintendo of America as the CEO. Um, I believe starting in the new year. Which is cool. Like he was one of the, I think he was the CEO of Nintendo of Europe during the Wii era. And he like helped get the Xenoblade games localized in the West. So very, very cool, you know, in good hands. He's a gamer. He loves like Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, and Professor Layton, stuff like that. He's done cosplays. Cool stuff. Um, Now some quickies that might divulge into a bit of more lengthy conversation. We'll see. Uh, Xbox Game Pass is getting a 50% price hike. So if you want an ultimate membership of Game Pass, you are dropping $30 a month.
Yep, with no year option.
Yeah,
It's
no year option.
yeah, it's I think the best way to put it in perspective of how this is being received right now is that the web page for canceling Game Pass has broken today.
Yep.
Like that much traffic hit today alone from people just looking to cancel. I
Yeah.
don't look, man. A lot of things are getting more expensive, and there's a lot of reasons why. Uh, and while I don't like it, I've been able to understand it a little more on the physical hardware side of things, at least within the US, because of the tariffs and such, and trying to like offset and just trying to like keep those profitable while being able to move units. Um, I don't know what the goal is on this. Like other than to try to make more money off of who they already have, but like the price up is such a significant margin after a price up that already has happened fairly recently. I just don't like clearly people are leaving in reaction to this. And I don't know if that's a surprise to Xbox. I don't know if they thought the fall off would be low enough that like the gains from who stays is going to be high enough. Um, but it just feels very hard to justify $360 a year uh, for the service. Like I'm sure, like you and I were talking about this very briefly before we started recording. I think there's a certain brand person out there who like their sole way of interacting with games is having a Game Pass subscription, and that's how they play everything they play. And like, sure, if you're cool with never permanently owning any of these, and you just want to keep up with like day and date Xbox first party stuff and whatever partnerships they get, cool. The value I think is still kind of there. But anyone else, like if you buy any games, it's like why are you going to add on this additional price on top of that? Cuz that is not a small number. That adds up quite a bit. Like you got to be on top of you playing those titles to really make that price point worth it. And everything is getting more expensive and people got to cut costs somewhere. And a price increase on a optional service is certainly a great justification to decide, well, there's one of the places I'm going to start saving on costs right now.
Yeah. If we're just talking about like subscriptions in general, like I have I have I technically have PlayStation Plus just because like I stacked up on years of PlayStation Plus like back when you could do that.
Oh, yeah.
You can't do that anymore.
No, they stopped that. Like they stopped it the moment they announced like one of the last increases or whatever, yeah.
Yep. You can't do that anymore, which sucks. And then I have Amazon Prime because it's just so convenient and it is what it is. So I have Prime Video, I have Crunchyroll because that's like how you watch anime. Um and and then like I'll subscribe to a specific subscription if a show that I care about is like dropping a new season, right? Like
Sure.
Peacemaker season 2 just dropped. So I'm subscribing to HBO Max to watch that and then for the 1 month and then probably the White Lotus season 3 because I still need to watch that. And then I'm just done. Like, you know what I mean? It's that's just kind of like where subscriptions have gone like so out of hand at this point. Def- it like defies the purpose of why they were popular in the first place.
Yeah.
And it's just like, no, let's just bring back cable television.
I mean, it kind of just feels like the natural end state it was going to end up in. Like that's the thing, right? Most things that start off as a great deal are only a great deal because they're trying to make you leave the current thing. And the moment the current thing is no longer a viable or even considered option by tons of folks, the new thing is now going to end up being just as expensive or just as wildly out of place because ultimately their goal is to make money. And especially with the way businesses are rewarded in the US or even just worldwide these days, growth is the goal. The numbers need to keep going up. If the numbers aren't going up, you're not doing good business. So, thing is just going to get more and more expensive. And that was even the thing with Disney Plus, right? A bunch of people started canceling because of the Jimmy Kimmel thing, and that ended up being a headache for Disney, not just because of the mass cancellations, but because it turns out they were planning on raising prices in like a week. So
Mm,
now you have people canceling for two different reasons, or maybe just feeling even better about the reason they canceled in the first place. And yeah, like I'm in a similar boat as you. You know, there was a time where I was maintaining multiple subs, and now it's like, nah, man, I canceled everything. I have one streaming service at a time, and I'm just gonna catch up on whatever I've been missing out. I don't care that hard about staying current. I'm not doing it for my content creation job, so why does it even matter? I will watch a show when I'm able to watch it.
yep.
Uh, because it's
Yeah.
too silly to try and maintain all these services at once. Like it's far more. I mean, it's hit the point where it's more expensive than cable was like getting. You know, like if you're trying to have the ad-free best version experience of any of them, you know.
Yeah, because I was telling you before the pod, again, like I'm an Xbox guy. Like I like to play my games on Xbox whenever possible. Not whenever possible, but in most cases. And I still need to finish Expedition 33, and literally like this month I was going to subscribe to Game Pass again, to so that I could finish it. And now I'm just like, well, I'm just gonna wait probably for that physical edition that I pre-ordered, the Mirror edition or
Yeah.
whatever. Just gonna wait for that to drop and probably finish the game then, which sucks because I think that's like at the end of the year or if not January. It is what it is now. That's just how it has to be because like I'm not dropping $30 a month for that. Like I like here's the thing. I might do it this month just because Ninja Gaiden 4 is coming out as well. That like that's two games, right? Like that's two games that I can try and finish this month where like I got my 1 month worth, but then I'm unsubscribing and I don't think I'm ever going to resubscribe again unless they revert the prices.
Yeah, and there's also the fact that just like, you know, I never know how much of this is us in our own bubble of like who we follow and what conversations we're seeing taking place, but just generally speaking, there's been a lot of like greater anti-Xbox sentiment because of, you know, wanting to protest certain things that Microsoft is involved in.
Yeah,
Uh and it's like this doesn't like this just
help in any way.
compounds on top of I just feel like outside of it's like Xbox finally started releasing games after how long like a bunch of partnerships and acquisitions have begun to pay off outside of like Call of Duty and uh at the same time then it's like hey by the way Xboxes are now you know $600 and Game Pass is 360 a year and by the way here's all this fun stuff Microsoft's been up to and it's just like cool there's a really heavy push I think more and more like Xbox was already kind of always falling behind a little bit because of just like there was a lot more momentum happening with PlayStation especially going into like the PS4 versus the Xbox One and that was a very rough particular generation to fumble on
Mhm.
because I think it just set up a lot more concretely like this is the platform that I call home for a lot of people um and you know, they're finally getting some games out, and it's cool they're going more multi-platform, but it just seems like it's getting tougher and tougher to stay specifically on Xbox because this stuff's just getting more and more out of hand. And it's like everyone else is raising prices and stuff's getting terrible all around, but like Xbox seems to be doing it at an even faster and greater rate than anyone else.
Yeah, I can't it sucks. It just
Yeah,
sucks. I
no,
don't
it's so
know. It
yeah,
just sucks.
like yeah, like I don't take glee in saying these things. I'm not. This isn't about like, oh, you know, PlayStation's great, Xbox sucks, lol. It's just like, man, this is kind of painful to see happen like in real time. Because the thing here
Yeah.
is too, like, competition is good. Competition is where you get like, you know, companies trying to do like smarter things or interesting like ways of undercutting. And instead, right now we're in the situation where like Xbox is kind of just doing what they're doing, and so PlayStation is also kind of screwing around a little bit, and you know, Nintendo. There are things about what they're doing that I like generally more than the direction the others are going, but they're also having their hiccups with like you know what we're seeing with the game key cards and prices in general are getting really freaking painful. And again, a lot of that is also external economic government factors, but doesn't change the fact that it's happening.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where if I'm if I'm kind of like removing, not like I'm not even, it's not removing bias because I am biased and I don't like it, but like when I just look at like what the $30 a month offers, like again, if you are specifically doing Game Pass, that's a pretty damn good deal. Like it's you because it's not just the catalog, right? It's EA Play, it's you like Ubisoft Plus, it's Fortnite Crew is coming in November, like, and Fortnite Crew is a really good like when I was playing Fortnite significantly, I was playing Fortnite. I was sub to Fortnite Crew, and it's a good deal. Like, there's a lot more than just the game catalog. It's just when there's so many other subscriptions, both in and outside of gaming, on top of just like playing other things, it's really hard. It's a really hard sell still. And I think that as I've gotten over the past like year or two, I've started to been like, damn, like I don't want to feel this feeling of abandoning Xbox because again, I really like Xbox. I like it has my favorite controller. Like I like the system, like, but it especially as I've gotten a lot more into just JRPGs where like a lot of, not all, but like a lot don't come to Xbox. It's like I just kind of like look at my PlayStation, my PS5, and it just like feels more appealing. Like I feel like I am using my PS5 more than I am my Xbox. Like I feel like my Xbox is my least used console right now. Like I don't remember the last time I used my Xbox.
I use
Uh,
mine for streaming at this point more than anything else. Like there are some like there's releases on Game Pass that I'll play on there, and there's first party stuff where because I have it through Game Pass, like cool. Um, and I think I should also clarify right now, I'm on Game Pass because I have been like gifted like a year in the past, and like so
mhm.
cool. I don't know if I would take over renewing on my own at this pace just because like again this pricing and a lot of stuff I'm just bound to pick up because that's I like owning my games. I pick up physicals. um it's yeah, not great. And especially because like the weird thing about this too, right, is that it feels like there have been so many moves to make their own platform less appealing while also putting their stuff on all the other platforms. And I'm down for like the multi-platform push that like we've been seeing for more companies, like especially when it comes to Xbox, PlayStation, and platforms that don't really have any realistic actual difference in how they operate. Switch gets weirder because it's less powerful and it's also a handheld. It's got extra features like the mouse and stuff. Um, but like I'm fine with like the multi-platform push. It's just like you're doing this at the same time as not really adding much value to like why your platform is the place to do this, and that is a kind of rough combo.
Yeah, I don't know. It's yeah, it's one of those things where you just I'm interested to seeing how Xbox responds, if they respond to the backlash. But I don't know. It's because like yeah, the whole like Microsoft stuff, that's like a whole nother topic. It's just
Yeah.
that's a whole
Oh yeah.
nother
No,
thing.
that's yeah.
But in general, I just like want to be excited as an Xbox person again, and I just don't like right now. The next game I feel like I might play, not including like finishing Expedition 33 and playing Ninja Gaiden 4, is like the Persona 4 remake when that comes out. Like I don't know like the anything else that is coming out, or like Dragon Quest VII Reimagined. Like that's probably like the next game that I will probably play on my Xbox, and that's in 4 months, and like that sucks. That really sucks. And again, part of that isn't particularly like Xbox's fault. Part of that is just like they're just Japanese devs releasing games that aren't on Xbox. Like We didn't get the new Atelier on Xbox, or maybe we did, but it only got physical on PS5. No, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure it's not on Xbox. And
Give me 1 second. It is not on Xbox. It's on PC,
yeah,
Switch,
right. So like,
PS5, PS4. Yeah.
so Yumiya was on Xbox, but this one wasn't. It's just like, okay, why did you make that change, or like why did you not do that? Like I
Yeah.
felt like that was going to be like the start of Atelier games being on Xbox. But anyway, didn't mean this conversation to be that long-winded because
Yeah.
that was like a 15-minute conversation. But
Oops.
um,
Yeah, I mean, it's
yeah,
also that it's breaking news, and I think we're both just like
yeah,
and it's just again highlighting this overall greater pattern that's just been not great right now. And again, everyone's going up in price. Everyone's kind of got stuff they're doing right now that's headache inducing, but it feels like Xbox has been doing more of them in a greater density. That is just like, y'all, what are we doing?
yep, yep. Uh, some smaller actual quickie news. One update regarding Yakuza 3 Kiwami. So that collection, or that 20th anniversary edition comes with the steelbook and all three games. That is seemingly a Europe exclusive bundle of sorts. Uh, as of yesterday, as of recording, being Tuesday, that was pre-orderable on Amazon UK, and it does ship to the US. I got my pre-order in, so I don't know if it's still going to be available once this comes out publicly, but I just want to share that information that is how you can get that for those that care.
Real quick, just
Uh,
with exchange rate in mind, what did that actual damage come out to for USD?
I want to say it was like just north or just shy of $100, which 3 games and a steelbook, that's what you're getting.
Sure.
For me, that's fine.
Well, and I think the way it's coming out in the US, I think it's $50 for Zero alone and $50 for Kiwami 1 and 2 together. So like it kind of works out then that way.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, Next thing, Utaware Rumono. That's what I'm going with there. Zan 2 is coming to PC in English. This is a sequel to the Mask of Truth game of that series. I've heard really good things about this series. So I kind of keep up to date with it, and it's a series that like is relatively high on my backlog of games to play because there's only 1, 2, 3, 4. This is like the 5th game I think in the series, because Zan 1 is kind of like a retelling of one of the games, but it's like a Muso style action game instead. This one is a straight up sequel to the Mask of Truth games, and then there's Monochrome Morbius, which is um it's its own thing, but it's under the same
Umbrella.
series
Yeah.
of, yeah, Umbrella. Um, so that's cool. They didn't say when it's coming, but it is going to. Oh, hold on. Yeah, there's no release date yet. Apparently, this came out in Japan in 2021, so a very much awaited localization. Uh, My Hero, My Hero Academia, All's Justice is launching on February 6th of next year. And and then Silent Hill F has already hit 1 million copies sold.
Yeah, it's even outpacing 2 remake, I think is part of those numbers.
Yep, that is correct. Next, we're gonna get into what we've been playing for this week. Kevin, what you been playing?
Couple things. Neither of which are JRPGs, but I feel like they're adjacent enough for people that enjoy the genre. Hades 2. I said I was gonna like not put time into it, but then because I was able to play Tactics a little early, and Silent Hill has turned into the game I play when Christine's home, so we can both like see the story. It's like, well, I guess I'll play Hades 2 in the other time. I already played it a bunch during early access, so it didn't take very long for me to like roll credits because it was basically just like, cool, do what I was already doing, but now there's plot progression. Uh, Freaking great game, you know? Like I already liked it during early access. If you like original Hades, there's a lot to love about this one. It is the same core concept, just bigger and better in a whole lot of different ways. Uh, I think the weapon variety is a bit more interesting. There's a little bit more kind of like strangeness into how some of them operate, especially with some of the aspects they have. I think one core structural change it makes that I like a lot is there's more reasons to change keepsakes during your run. Like in the older one, there were some keepsakes where it's like, yeah, you'll use this like for one section, and then you can change it if you want. And some of them you'd want to change. This one, it's like, no, pretty much every keepsake is useful for one specific zone, and then you have a reason to like mix it up and try another one. So you're getting a little more time kind of experimenting with all the different ones. It just makes each run feel a bit more dynamic to me in some really fun ways. Uh, yeah, fantastic action roguelike. I'm very sorry to Toa that they came out like right next to each other, but so it goes. And then I have not put as much time into this yet, but I did also play some Silent Hill F. I'm probably like 4 hours in, maybe 5 hours in. Been playing with Christine. Uh, really good. Really, really, really good. I have one like core complaint with like the mechanics, but overall, it does a whole lot that I'm enjoying. I don't mind the like melee focused combat. It is a little silly how you have like a perfect dodge with slowdown, but like cool, whatever, have some good combat. I think the only thing that really bothers me is the way the game uses a stamina meter. Not just because it exists and therefore limits how often you can do certain things, but the recovery rate on it is such a freaking pain. It's not the speed at which your stamina recovers, it's the fact that when your stamina empties, there's like a pretty healthy few second delays until it begins to refill. And there's like, I've been fine with it for most regular enemies, but there was a boss fight I had to do where it was just really painful because the boss would have certain combos where it's like, cool, he did this combo right after I attacked and I need to dodge, but my stamina is now too low to dodge more than once in a row. And cool, I'm just going to get hit now. And like, there's things built in to kind of balance that out. Like if you perfect dodge, which causes the slow time, you also recover stamina, but it just, I don't know. It just feels very bizarre because it recovers at such a slow rate that like you easily run into situations where you're surprised you ran out of stamina. And it's like, cool, I can't do a thing I need to do right now. But the horror vibes are fantastic. I enjoy the opening setup. I enjoy like visually the game is great. There's a lot of like little things to the mechanical side of it that I really enjoy. It does. Okay, wait, I have one other peeve. This is a personal pet peeve, and this happens in a lot of games where inventory management is important.
Okay.
I absolutely hate games that have inventory management and don't give you the option to immediately use an item you pick up that you don't have space for. There are so many times where I have found like a toolkit which you can use to repair weapons, and it's like, hey, your inventory's full, get rid of something. And it's like, well, everything I have is stuff I kind of want to hold on to or use.
It's useful, yeah.
Yeah. And like, I could just use the toolkit right now. Like, I have a weapon that needs repairing. Just let me use it right now. That's fine.
Yeah.
Let's just do that. That's like a
Wait, so if you drop it, you can't re-pick it up?
Yes, it is gone. If you drop an item to pick up a new item, the old item is gone. And like that in
So
a
you
void
just-
doesn't bother me. But the fact that like comboed with this situation, because there's also not a way to store items as far as I can tell. I can't be like, oh, this first aid kit that's just taking up a slot and I probably want to save till a boss fight. Like I can't just put that away somewhere until a save point before a boss fight. It's just like you got to hold on to it. And there are ways to like increase your carrying capacity, and for the most part, it has worked out okay. I just am especially a hoarder. And it's very annoying for like that kind of specific situation where it's just like this thing that I can't pack up. I could just use it like right now. Just let me do that, and there's no option to do that. So that is not an exclusive problem to this game, but it is yet another perpetrator in it that inspires my ire.
Yeah, I'm very much a hoarder of items when I play games like that as well. And so I totally get that. It sucks. It sounds like that you just kind of have to. So when you pick up something, do you know what you're picking up?
Yeah, and if you can choose
Okay.
to not pick it up and get rid of something, and if you do that, the item still stays there for you to be able to like pick it up.
Oh, okay.
So you still have the
That's
ability
kind
to
of what
like,
I was asking
oh,
beforehand.
yeah. I thought you meant if you drop an item to pick it up, is there a way to get back the item you dropped? And like there
No,
is,
no, no. I'm
yeah,
talking about like about the item you're specifically trying to pick up.
yes.
Like if it,
You can back
yeah, if
out
you're
and then figure out
okay,
like either
that's
remember it's
good.
there so you
That's
can come
good.
back to it later, or run to a save point so you can like maybe sell an item you think you don't need anymore. And yeah, I think it would also work better for me if because like there's this whole system for selling items where you offer them up to gain points, and only certain items are offerable because it actually in universe makes sense. It's like yeah, you can give candy as an offering, you can give like food items as an offering, but you can't give like bandages or first aid kits as an offering because why would you ever do that in real life? That doesn't make any sense. But those are oftentimes also the items where it's like I don't really need like 2 3 med kits and I have them on me and they each take up a slot. It'd be cool if I could just get rid of them, but it makes your brain extra angry that the only way to get rid of them is to just get rid of them with no like gain in return. So that's a little frustrating. But yeah, those are my honestly at the end of the day kind of minor complaints to what overall is a fantastic horror game. Like I really am thoroughly enjoying it. Outside of a couple little things that are just like annoying when they come up, but aren't enough to actually sour, the rest of it being as good as it is.
Cool. Yeah, I want to check it out. I definitely want to check it out. When I will, who knows? But I definitely want to see what's up. I have finished Pokemon Violet. I've rolled credits on that. Um, yeah, I love that game. I think it's really great. It ends very abruptly. Um,
And
and
you're talking
I don't
about base
know
game, right? Like not DLC
base
or
game,
anything.
base
Yeah.
game. Yeah. It ends very abruptly, and from what I've heard, like the DLC doesn't really add anything of value there. Um, and I didn't know this. And this isn't like a major spoiler or anything like that, but like the credits song is an original song by Ed Sheeran.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
They
I
used
was
it
just
in the
like,
ads and it ended up being the credit song. Yeah, it's super bizarre.
yeah, I was like, okay, this is unexpected from Pokemon.
Yeah, I
Um,
want to say I don't know if it was during a direct or a Pokemon presentation, but like I feel like they highlighted like, hey, Ed Sheeran has made a Pokemon track, and it was such a like even at the like because I'm not a big Ed Sheeran guy, so I'm just like, all right, like that's
yeah,
cool, that's neat. I feel like more people were excited about frickin' Toby Fox doing music for Pokemon, at least within like the people that are into gaming kind of demographic.
yeah, because it was funny because when you get to like the last area of the game, I was like, oh, the music is really like picked up here. And my buddy Ken was watching because he really likes the end of that game and he wanted to like see me experience it. Um, and he's like, "Oh yeah, it's Toby Fox." I'm like, "Oh shit, really?" He's like, "Yeah." It's like he did music for Sword and Shield too. I'm like, "Oh, well, that's news to me." I knew he did the my like Little Town Hero or whatever, but I didn't know that he did Pokemon, which is very cool. What a bizarre, unexpected collaboration. The Game Freak and the Pokemon Company and Toby Fox. But yeah, very cool. Um, it's a different Pokemon game, for sure. And I, you know, part of me like likes that. Part of me is just like, huh, okay. But overall, like probably my favorite mainline Pokemon game since Black and White 2, probably. Yeah, really enjoyed it. I also started Lost Soul Aside finally. I've played about 4 hours of it. Um, man, this is I have a lot of feelings about this game so far already. It's because I've waited literally a third of my life for this game, and I was so excited about this game, and I I think the game is fun. I just think it's like very like present. It's very present to me that this game was just over. It feels like it was overdeveloped
Mm.
in a way where like they they didn't really know. They weren't like confident in some of their design choices, and they weren't really sure, and it very much felt like that they were going back and forth with certain things, and then they just decided like, oh, we're just going to go with something super simplistic because either one, we don't have any more time to go over this, or two, it's just like the easy way to go about it, I guess, if that makes sense. Um, because like the action elements of the game are definitely the highlight of the game. You start with a sword. At this point, I've gotten a great sword as well, and they do function like differently. And there is like some creativity there where like, oh, when you have a great sword and you're trying to sprint, you're literally riding your sword, which I think is cool.
Like a cool little detail,
Versus
yeah.
like a normal sword, you're just running, right? Um, and you have like the weapons have different kits and different upgrade trees and all that stuff that you kind of expect. Um, but then you get to like some of the aspects with your item usage, and when you talk to this like little girl who is kind of like your um bonfire of sorts. Like
Mhm.
when you go there, all of your like default items that you always have on you um get refilled automatically. So you have like a normal health potion, and then you have like a super health potion of sorts. Um and so you get you so when you go to the person, you get six, and then you have of the normal potion, you have two of the big potion. And then there's like these other potions that you get, or other items that you can like have equipped to your D-pad, and you can buy them. But then there's seemingly a crafting a crafting one where you can make stamina potions. And I've already talked to one of my roommates has already played and beaten this game because we went to college together. Like we have been waiting for that game together basically, and he's already played and beaten it. And he was like, "Let me know if you find new recipes to make things with, because I beat the game and I only was able to make a stamina potion the entire game." To the point where, so I was just like, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah." I'm like, "Then what's the point of this?
Yeah.
Literally,
Add a
why would
crafting
you
system
add
for
a
one
crafting
specific, yeah.
system for one specific item that you could just have us buy?"
Yeah.
It's very bizarre. Um, and then when you're in the general action, right? So you have like stamina segments of sorts, and each stamina segment allows you to dash, right? Or dodge. Um, it works as both. But when there's like when an enemy attack does a specific attack, there's like a glowing blue circle. And if you press the dash at the right time, you basically get like this dash attack of sorts, if that makes sense. And you can stack them, which I think is interesting. I don't know if the stacking allows you to do multiple, or if it just makes it more powerful when you actually unleash it, because I believe there is a time limit. You have to do it within a certain amount of time, or it'll just go away. Um but like that is a cool system. The thing is that's annoying is that not it doesn't you can do that to non circuit like blue circle visual cue moves. So why would you have that system into play if you can just do that for all attacks?
Yeah.
Because my roommate, he thought you could only do it on those attacks. I'm just like, no, dude, you can do it whenever you want. It just allows you, it's just for some reason they decide we're gonna do a visual cue on specific moves for these guys, which I think is like bizarre. Like
Yeah.
why?
That's very
Yeah,
weird.
yeah. It's just a lot of like design choices at play that they kind of just it feels like that they gave up on, or they just didn't
it like things that may have changed mid development, but they kept the relics of like the old approach, and like, yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, it's very bizarre. Um, I I want to like you know, I want to like dig into that more because some of the stuff I'm saying may not actually be true. It's just how it feels like or just how it reads from my experience. Because like the combat when it is going, it's pretty fast. So I do want to like re-go to that, revisit that and see if like everything I'm saying is exactly what I'm saying it is. But for my all I know is that like I can use the dash to uh do the dodge for normal attacks as well as the blue circle attacks. So I don't really know what the difference is there in a real way. And then another thing is that when you do like your combos, when you're hitting enemies, certain moves there'll be like a blue flash that is like a cue for you to press R2 if you have the upgrade, and he does like a finisher or a very specific attack. The thing that's weird about that is that there are definitely other moves that have like a blue flash in him that isn't a cue. And it's just like I wish that the visual cues for that stuff was just a lot more clear, a lot more concise. Cause yeah, it's just like, okay, this one's not. Why did we choose the same color? Like, very odd design choice there. Um, but you know, outside of that, I'm interested in the world. I'm interested in the story. Some of the voice acting is hit and miss, definitely. Um, but so the game is also like pretty funny. Like there's definitely some like fun humor. Specifically from Arena, which is like the dragon thing that's following you. Like it's not like an annoying animal companion, which is really refreshing. um, but he does have like a sense of personality and like some of the same trappings where he's like, I'm Lord Arena. I'm like the most powerful being. Like you cannot even describe. I could not even describe my full power. Like that type of banter. But it's funny because of just how it's delivered. Um, that yeah, I'm definitely gonna see it through. I would ideally like to have it done by next week, but the thing is, Ghost of Yote comes out,
Yep.
and like, yep,
It's
Ghost of
tomorrow.
Yote. Yeah, yep. Ghost of Yote is like gonna definitely my goal basically as of right now is at the very least I want to finish Lost Soul Aside and Ghost of Yote by the time Pokemon comes out, which is the 16th. Um
It's a tight window,
it's a tight window.
especially
And
for a
on
game
top
of
of that,
Yote's like scale. Like it's probably not. I mean, I haven't seen what reviews have been saying, but I imagine it's a pretty healthy number of hours.
yeah, but on top of that, I also want to finish I would like to play through Tactics.
And we need to finish Legend Dragoon for our wonderful listeners.
Before the end of the year. Yes, before the end of the year. Yes. Cuz like honestly, after with Ghost of Yote, if I'm thinking correctly, really the only other game that's coming out, Ghost of Yote and Tactics, the only other game that's coming out by the end of the year that I'm like, I definitely want to play this like day one, like that type of thing. I'm not saying we will, but it's likely we'll get review codes for is Dragon Quest 1 and 2. And Octopath, but like that's not a I can wait on Octopath. But like
Yeah.
Dragon Quest 1 and 2, I definitely want to play day one. Um, and then after that, it's like kind of like cleanup of sorts. And I think that you know, Legend of Dragoon, we got it. We got it.
Yep.
And what and our new indie game, which I just realized today is the first. So we got to see what the results of that are.
Indie
for
game. Oh yes, for
for Campfire Catalog,
Cameron
yeah.
Catalog. Yes. Yep.
which looks like it is Amori, everybody.
Oh
Amori
man,
is our indie campfire catalog for the end of this year. Hell
I
yeah.
can't wait to be depressed. Love it.
Um yeah. I wanted In Stars and Time to win, but and it got no votes, if it makes you feel
Damn.
any better.
Yeah, I feel like I know of In Stars in Time, but I feel like it doesn't have quite the same level of like notoriety as pretty much everything else on that list. Like
Yeah,
I
but I
think
gave yeah, but like this is for our patrons, and we've definitely talked about it in the
sure,
Discord and stuff. So,
sure.
um, but yeah, so not honestly, like not a whole lot left for me of like day one need to play. So, it
Yeah, it's a little
like
tighter
the
for me.
yeah, because the other ones I want to go back to. Like again, I want to play Doom: The Dark Ages. I want to play Borderlands 4. A lot of like non JRPGs. Like that's kind of like my
Yeah.
cleanup for this year. I still really want to play Assassin's Creed Shadows. Like I know that like um it's a lot of people like have a lot of ill will towards Assassin's Creed nowadays. I love Assassin's Creed. I will always play the new Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah. And
So
Shadows was fun. I thought it was a solid entry.
yeah.
Yeah, this
So
one's just a mess for me because like all the ones you mentioned, but then like Ninja Gaiden 4 is definitely like I'm not gonna say it's like the highest priority, but like that's a high priority one for me that I would like to play sooner than later.
mhm.
Mean of the Hollower is at the end of October. That's a very high priority one for
Oh
me.
shit! No, you're right. You're
Yep.
so right. I gotta play Mina the
Uh,
Hollower.
Yep. Outer Worlds 2, that's definitely more me than you, but like I love Obsidian and I always try to like check their stuff out right away. So like that's a big one.
Yeah.
I think thankfully overall the rest of the year is actually fairly slow for me. I think there's like a couple releases like in December, but uh October is just such an absolute mess for my taste profile.
Yeah, speaking of which, because it is a new month, and I totally dropped the ball on this in September. Let's talk about all the notable releases for October.
Sure, before we get to our
Um,
topic.
yeah, so we have Ghost of Yote on October 2nd. So the day that this podcast drops, it'll be out. Um, oh wait, no, the day after. Wait, no, it is tomorrow.
Yeah. Tomorrow.
Oh, it's That's a Thursday. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. So it'll be out by the time this drops. Along with that, Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 on the Switch. Um, Digimon Story Time Stranger, October 3rd. Speaking of which, I did get a code for Digimon Story Time Stranger. I was offered a code. I told them, like, I'm not going to meet this embargo. The embargo's because the embargo raised today.
Yeah.
So I do want to check it out. I do want to report on my thoughts. But we'll see. We'll see when I get there. But I did get a code for that. Thank you to Bandai for sending the code. I'm looking forward to checking that out. Yuko Replayly dropping on October 9th. Disguise 7 Complete for Switch 2, October 10th. Yuko Replayly is going to be on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series consoles, Switch 2, and PC. Little Nightmares Enhanced Edition, PS5, Xbox Series, Switch 2, PC, October 10th, as well as Little Nightmares 3 on all of those systems, as well as PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Switch. Uh, Pokemon ZA for Switch and Switch 2, October 16th. Ninja Gaiden 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, and PC, October 20th. Persona 3 Reload for Switch 2, October 23rd. I am curious to see how that runs on
Oh,
Switch 2.
I talked about that briefly during I did play that
Yeah,
during my Sega demo thing. Like it
yeah,
runs. It's definitely
yeah,
not
yeah,
the
yeah.
smoothest, but like
Yeah, it's more of a me thing. It's just like, oh, like, I'm curious as to
sure. Is it going to run well
how I
enough
feel
for
about it.
like your enjoyment kind of?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD2D remake. Oh, that's this month. October 30th. I
Yeah.
thought it was like early November.
No. It's end of this
Oh
month and then early
no.
December is Octopath, I think, right? Yeah.
Okay. Um Virtual Fighter 5 Revo World Stage, PS5, Xbox Series, October 30th. Mina the Hollower, Switch 2, Switch, PC, Mac, and Linux, October 31st. Tales of Xillia remastered, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, consoles, Switch, and PC. And that's it for October. But yeah, just kind of looking through November. Um, not a whole lot that I'm just like I gotta play this like day one. Demon School, very excited for Demon
Oh yeah.
School. That comes out in November because that got delayed like last second. Um, and then yeah, Octopath and Metroid in December. So yeah, I'm November and December is definitely going to be catch up time for sure. So alrighty. Now we're gonna get into our topic of the show this week, and I thought about this before the state of play, but then the state of play happened, and it's like, okay, it's even better. I want to talk about what makes a good gaming presentation. Like
Mhm.
what are the things that we look for? What are the things we don't like? We hope we don't see. Things like that. Because I think that everyone has different opinions, and I think that just historically for me, I feel like that I'm generally like lower on most presentations than most people. I feel like with a lot of directs, I'm like, yeah, that was fine. Like that was good. It wasn't crazy. Um, there's very few times where I was just like, that was incredible, like an
Sure.
incredible direct. And then state of play, like, uh,
Yeah. Which funny is I'd probably say I consider myself the opposite a little bit. Not that I'm like always hyped, but more that I'm just like, yeah, that was solid. That was good. There was some cool stuff they revealed. I'm happy for people that are into, X things or whatever. Um like I feel like I like oftentimes when I see people be like actively disappointed, I'm like what did you want, man? Like what are we missing here? And not that I won't have presentations that I will say I think were bad. Or were, I'll absolutely have ones where I'm like, yeah, that just was not for me, like at all. Um, but I would say I'm generally a little bit more on the forgiving side more often.
mm-hmm. Yeah. I and again, it's tough because it's just like, what are you looking for?
Yeah.
And I think that there are certain instances where, like even this last direct, right? I was like, that was a better than normal direct. Like that was a good direct. And then people were like, that direct was garbage. And I'm like, what do you mean, dude? Like,
I think there's
I don't
also
want.
I think there's also just a lot of extra negative sentiment right now, like for Nintendo and for announcements. Like I did a video talking about like the first year of the Switch 2 so far, like how it's kind of shaping up and
Hmm.
how it compares to Switch 1, because I see a lot of comparisons to Switch 1, and I see a lot of people talk about how like, oh, like the first year of the Switch 2 is looking like, terrible or whatever. And it's like, outside of having like a literal singular genre defining release like Breath of the Wild, it is like one for one the rest of the way. Like, we had Super Mario Odyssey, we have Donkey Kong Bonanza. We had a JRPG with Xenoblade Chronicles 2. We're more than likely getting a JRPG within the first year with Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave. Like there's all these like, we have a lot of the same stuff. But people are just actively more negative right now. I think part of that has to do with just like general unhappiness with how things are, like pricing wise. I think people are
Sure.
looking for a reason to just be mad at more stuff, and it's like, y'all, I don't know what to tell you. Like the release list is actually pretty solid. Like I don't, but yeah, I agree with you. Like there was a lot of
I
negativity after that last direct, which was kind of weird to me.
I think in that instance, just like playing a little bit of devil's advocate, like Breath of the Wild was if Breath of the Wild did not come out during the Switch 2 like launch, I think that people would have been because it could have even came out in the first year. I'm talking about at launch
Yeah,
specifically. I think that people would feel better about the first year of the Switch 2.
sure. If there was
Um,
some kind of like big thing.
um, well, not even that. I just think in just like with what we know it as of right now, because I think that Breath of the Wild like carried the Switch 2 for several
The
years.
original Switch,
I
I
would
mean.
yes, the original Switch for several years.
Yeah.
Um, that the Switch 2 just doesn't have that game.
Yeah.
Like Donkey Kong Bonanza is not that game. Metroid Prime 4 is not going to be that game.
Yeah. Well, and that's cross-gen
Um,
anyways. Like that's not
yeah,
including the cross-gen games. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like nothing on the Switch 2 is going to, it, like has that. And I think that even if they decided, which would have been way too long of a wait, that they were just like, hey, Tears of the Kingdom is going to be a launch Switch 2 game, but it's still like it's still backwards
Yeah.
compatible.
Cross-gen.
I don't think it would have like did what it, the same thing.
No,
Um,
not at all. Because like even though Breath of the Wild was cross-gen, who had a Wii U, right? I think there's a
yeah,
lot of people who still don't like remember that Breath of the Wild was cross-gen because it was just
yeah,
like who bought
it's
that on Wii
just,
U? Yeah.
yeah, it's just that no one bought a Wii U. So like, I actually have a friend that did play Breath of the Wild on the Wii U because he didn't get a Switch yet, and he never played the Switch version of Breath of the Wild. He like Breath of the Wild to him is the Wii U version,
Yeah.
which is crazy to me. But you know, yeah. So it's it's one of those things where I think that there is an argument there. I
Oh no,
agree, but like,
I
but I
think
also think, but
I think Switch
no,
One
no,
was stronger, like for sure. I'm not saying Switch
oh,
Two
for
is like
sure,
equal. Yeah.
but for sure. But I also think that like pretending that the Switch 2's first like 12 months hasn't been like good so far, I think is like a little silly.
Yeah.
Like with Donkey Kong Bonanza and like again, just like the Switch 2 updates of older games that desperately needed them. Um as well as just like some other just good Switch 2 support. I don't know. I think it's been solid. Like again, I was like not on the Switch 2 train in a real way. And I only really pre-ordered or bought it day one because one, you had an extra pre-order, and two, I like didn't want there was a lot of fear that it was just not going to be available for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
And I'm very glad I've turned around like 180 so hard on it. Like I love my Switch 2. And I feel like the Switch 2 is what people felt like when they got the Switch 1 that I did not feel. I was
Mhm.
just like, yeah, this is solid. Like this is a solid machine. Like we were talking about how you like to play Switch purely handheld, and I'm in a similar boat now where like I love playing my Switch 2 handheld in a way that I didn't for the Switch 1.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, I think that we get these presentations, and I just like am curious as to what for you, like what are the things that like what's kind of like the outline of like what makes a good direct for you? Like how many like first party like um not particularly announcements but appearances that need to be made, and like um third party support, things like that. Like what are the things that you look for that make you walk away being like that was a good direct?
Yeah. Well, I think for me, the first party thing is always a little weird because like I understand it, and I also don't. I don't think I weigh it as heavily as some people do. Because like at the end of the day, I'm just excited for more games. But I get that there is this idea of like, especially if this is your main platform, like you want to see that stuff that's like really pushing, like, oh, it's a good thing I'm on this platform because we're getting these games. Um, and so I think oftentimes, like, I think the bare minimum, right, is like a strong opener and closer that, especially for Nintendo, are unique to Nintendo, right? Like, it's hard to have that anymore for the other platforms. Like PlayStation, at least you're getting timed exclusives. Um, and maybe they'll go to like they're still not going to Xbox, but we'll see how that goes in the next like year or two. Um, but like with Nintendo especially, it's like, hey, like give me an opener and closer that are like things about your platform, which they're generally pretty good about, right? I think Nintendo more than any other company, like you're getting a pretty good first party, unless they have the ones that are literally marketed as a partner direct, which is smart because it sets that expectation right away.
Yes.
I will say even within partner directs, I hope to see exclusives, which again happens more often than on Nintendo systems than elsewhere, just because of the handheld factor and some of the more unique features. And I think we're going to see that less as the years go by at this rate. I think
Mhm.
there's going to be games that are maybe marketed more heavily in favor of Nintendo. But I think in general, third parties are not about exclusivity much anymore, outside of very specific instances like Bravely Default Remastered on Switch 2. But even with Square, right? Like they're gonna announce Dragon Quest stuff, they're gonna announce Octopath stuff, and they're gonna push it on on like Nintendo presentations. But they're gonna go as many places as they can get it right now. Um, but yeah, so I think at minimum, opener and closer. Uh, More is always nice, but I think you want to have like the kind of what note you start on, what note you end on is like, by the way, here's cool shit for us, for Nintendo specifically. Um, I think one thing that gets glanced over oftentimes is just the cut of the trailers themselves. And that is something that I think Nintendo's gone in waves with. Like, I think a really good recent example of this, and some people have gotten overly defensive about this, but I think it is true. I think the Metroid Prime trailers have not been great. Like, I'm excited about Metroid Prime 4, and I think some of the specific things they've shown off in concept are cool when I sit and think about them longer. But I
Mhm.
think about the way they're actually cut and presented in the directs and the trailers have not been very good. Like I just don't think they're great at like hyping people up. Outside of I've been waiting for Metroid Prime 4 all this time, so anything you throw at me is going to be hype inducing. Like the motorcycle thing, I think the concept of the motorcycle is cool. I don't think the trailer made a great argument for it. It was just kind of like Samus is riding around and like, yeah, look, there's a motorcycle. It's like cool. Like the tone of them has just been very bizarre, and I think that sometimes that is a thing that impacts the flow and vibe of presentations is that like you can have good announcements, but you can also present them in a very boring way. And vice versa. Like I've seen presentations where I'm like, "Oh, like this was a good feeling presentation," but then I look back on it after and go, "We didn't actually really get that much. It just had the energy." you know. Like I think Xbox has had a habit of that where they've had a lot of presentations that are good in the moment and then it's like I look back on it 6 months later and go, where is a lot of that or what happened with a lot of the like there was energy here, where did it go? And I think Nintendo sometimes has the opposite issue where like there are directs and presentations that people get angry at during or are underwhelmed by, but it all ended up being quality in the long run.
Yeah, I think that it's just I think it goes into play of just, the things that you like versus you don't like. Because I mean, it was it this earlier this year or last year where there was, like, that real sicko direct where it was,
That
like
yeah,
it
that
it
was
it was a very, like, specific new entries for specific like, franchises, of which I didn't care about any of
that
them,
that was
but I
the
also
final
recognize that they were big deals.
yeah, that was the final regular Switch Direct. That was the one they did right before the Switch 2 Direct,
Right.
and they were just
Yep.
like getting some more announcements out of the way that were going to be on a regular Switch as well. And they were like, "Hey, we have a Switch 2 Direct coming up. By the way, here's this like regular Direct real quick." Yeah, and that one was like Rhythm Heaven and Tomodachi Life, and yeah, I think that one Nintendo was hedging their bets on like the Switch 2 Direct was a known thing up and coming, so they really just were like, we're gonna have some deep cuts here for the old school fans,
Mhm.
because Switch 2 Direct is where we're gonna put like we're hopefully getting like the greater audience excitement. Um, but yeah, I agree. I thought that was a great presentation. I enjoyed that one a lot. I'm not even into some of the things that like were there.
Exactly. Like,
Like
it
I
was
don't
one
really care about Tomodachi. Um, but Rhythm Heaven, like hell yeah. The fact that those were like both in the same presentation was mind blowing.
yeah, no, exactly. It was just like one of those things like, I know that this was a good presentation, just not a presentation for me, and you just are able to, uh, remove, your preferences from
Sure.
your mind and just, like, kind of look at it, in a more objective stance.
Yeah.
Um, Because yeah, I think that there's definitely been I've been on the receiving end of that, right? Where there's like these JRPG heavy directs, and everyone's just like, that was garbage. And I'm just like,
Best one in
says
years.
who?
Yeah.
Says
I've
who?
had a couple like that where it's like, and I'll even openly admit it, where I'm like, oh, this was like an A plus presentation for me, but if I was trying to be objective or like try to think what most people react to, like, yeah, that one was probably a C, but I ate it up. I think
Yeah,
that runs into another thing with presentations too, of like good or bad, and I think it's a hard balance to walk. Like, how much do you lean into variety versus like you're going to make a specific audience happy, right? Because the problem with
mhm,
variety run into is that maybe someone gets one announcement they're excited about, but then they're just sitting through the rest of the showcase like, oh, what was this? Like we've had presentations that are heavily like farm sim focused, right? Like farm sim people eat it up and are excited, but everyone else just kind of goes like, cool, that was an announcement, I guess. Um, but at the same time, when you have a lot of variety, are you just making like no one actually happy because you just touched on a bit of everything? Um, and on a similar vein, I think a tough thing to balance is like new IPs versus established franchise, and even just like indie versus AAA. Right? It's like there's stuff where I want it there, but I also understand it does not necessarily always contribute to the hype levels. Because it's like I don't want presentations to just be like nothing but known fandoms. But also, those are much more likely to be things that are going to get people riled up because I'm excited for next entry and thing I already like. And it's much harder to
mhm,
get me immediately on board with a new IP unless that new IP is not being shy about what it is inspired by or what it is trying to like bring more energy for. Like this is something you and I've talked about a few times, right? Like getting tired of Souls likes being in so many presentations and how many Souls
oh
likes
my,
we get in them. And
yeah,
I think I even know some Souls like people that'll be like, yeah, no, that was like one too many. But I also know some folks that are just like, oh, all of those fire.
absolutely,
Like,
absolutely.
and it's just like I don't know. I don't know, guys.
Yeah, I think it was the Gamescom presentation where I was watching it with a friend who like just loves the Souls likes genre and doesn't particularly agree with me on the idea that like Souls likes are oversaturated. There's an oversaturation of them. It's like, if there was, people wouldn't be making them, and I'm just like, I
That
don't.
by that logic, no one would be making live service games, but here we are.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. Um, but and I was just like, I'm happy for you, but there's just this is too much. This is just way too much. Especially considering the other Jeff Keighley hosted event this year also had too many Souls likes.
I don't know if that's like Keely's preference or just who has like
The
money to give
money.
to the show. I feel like Keely
Yeah.
presentations in general have been very soul like heavy, like more than any other genre.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure, but that's I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it.
Tired of a grandpa.
Uh, yeah. Let's do it bad. But yeah, I think that the yeah, the genre of the games obviously like play a part because it's you have your preferences and I kind of want to go into the uh first party aspects of things where like at least with directs like you I think a lot of people like expect a big first thing and a big last thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time we don't get that. uh or at least like what the last thing isn't like a big first party, right? Um did did the first Switch 2 presentation, did that end with the Duskbloods or was that partway through?
Uh, that was one. I think that might have been. If that wasn't the closer, it was like the second to last. Here I
Okay.
actually have it. Let me just pull it up real quick.
Okay.
Because yeah, they ended on. No, they ended on Bonanza.
Oh, okay. Okay. Which, you know,
Yeah, Duskbloods was the third to last. It was Duskbloods, then Kirby, Air Riders, and then Bonanza.
mm, Which I mean, that would be the way to go about it.
Yeah,
But
and
yeah,
you
like
opened it with Mario Kart World. So like that's about
yeah,
for the opening releases of Switch 2, that's about the two games you would want to have be the flagpole like
yeah,
announcements.
and like that was a great, and I think that was a good presentation where it's like, hey, we have like three uh Switch 2 specific titles that are first party that are coming out. We got an update on Metroid Prime 4. We got a big the From Software reveal was crazy. And I'm not a From Software guy. I was
Yeah.
just like, wow, like
That is one of those ones where I think it was more hype inducing up front than later, because I definitely saw some energy be deflated with like greater realization of what that game was exactly. But yeah, it was
I
hype in the moment for
yeah,
sure.
like I have a friend, a local friend who's a big From Soft Souls like guy, and even he's like, I'm not particularly interested in the Dusk Bloods because of the multiplayer stuff specifically. Um, but I'm just like, but it's still Miyazaki.
Yeah, but it's also like at the end of the day, a multiplayer like because it like multiplayer's always been a part of Souls likes, but it's always been like a single player plus experience rather than like a this is a multiplayer game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ultimately, that just attracts different folks, right? Like, there's plenty of devs where I love their games, and if they announce a purely multiplayer dedicated release, it'd be like, that's cool that you're doing that. I don't go there really, but like, cool, I guess. And I think that's the reaction.
Hmm.
It also had that reaction for Duskblood specifically because Night Rain wasn't out yet, and we knew about Night Rain, so it's like, cool, we're getting two back-to-back multiplayer from soft games, and like, where's Sekiro 2 or Bloodborne 2 or any single player game, like next. Um, or even new IP, just like single player anything, but we're getting two multiplayer games back to back, so that's neat, I guess.
Yeah, but like I get it, but I just and again, I'm not a From Software guy. Like I don't like fuck with Miyazaki like that, but like when I see like, oh, it's by Miyazaki, I think that to me just makes like it's like,
It's
are
dude,
people not automatically like this is gonna be great?
dude, I like there was a time where I absolutely worshipped every release Kojima made, and if Kojima announced a purely dedicated multiplayer game, I would feel probably nothing. I don't. It's just an entirely different goal and experience and structure. And I think it's harder for you to reconcile that because you're into both formats quite a bit. I don't I don't play multiplayer stuff. Like I don't. Like that's just not what I'm into. There is no long-running multiplayer game that I'm excited about. I don't play Overwatch, I don't play Fortnite, I don't play like that's not where I go. I'll play a game that has multiplayer elements that still has a single player focus, like Souls games, but they're just two entirely different things to me. Um, and
Mhm.
so that's like I'm coming from that as a From fan, where like I love FromSoft and I love the single player releases, and like when I had that revelation about Duskbloods, it definitely deflated me compared to like if it had just been its own thing.
Okay, I don't know. Okay, I
I,
can't. I
yeah,
don't
that's just
know.
where I'm
Okay,
coming from, and man, I don't know. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, but you're still gonna like play it though.
I don't know. I need to see more of it, and even then, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I only picked up Night Rain because it was three-player co-op, and I had enough friends who were all grabbing it that I was like, all right, I'll jump on to play with you guys specifically.
And you don't think you can find the same with Duskbloods?
Not if it's like multiplayer focused and it's like larger than four groups. Yeah, I play with close friends. I don't like playing like online.
No, no, for sure. No, that's fun. I get that. I'm just saying like if you can if it's designed in a way where you can just play with your own group to experience it, like
Maybe.
you can do it that way. Okay.
Eh.
Okay.
The answer
Okay.
is still maybe at that point. It's not even like yes.
Okay. Okay. Um, but yeah, I think that again, it's tough to. This was the thing I was like worried about is when we were talking because initially we were going to talk about what makes a good direct, and it was
Yeah.
just like state like comparing directs to state of play. It's just like not even
Yeah.
you can't compare it. You can't
It's
compare
rough,
them.
yeah. Or even what Xbox I mean, Xbox kind of bowed out outside of now doing like once a year type dealies, right? Like,
Yeah, once or twice a year they'll do like their little thingy. And
yeah.
their last one was really good.
No, I
Their
think
last one was
Xbox.
really good.
I think it's smart. I mean, despite all the doom and gloom we had at the start of this, I think Xbox has actually really figured out their presentation flow as far as like, look, we have a yearly developer direct, we have like an indie spotlight thing maybe once a year, and we have our summer showcase. Like
Yeah.
those are the things we do, and I think those are all executed better because they also save up over that period of time, right? Like state of plays are not once a year, they're not like nearly as regular as directs either. And I don't, yeah, I feel like state of play, as much as I do like things that PlayStation have been releasing, I feel like their presentation structure has been the overall weakest as of late.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that there was a point, and I don't remember which one it was, but there was definitely a point where I felt like PlayStation figured it out. Like they figured out the blueprint of like what the state of play should be. Um, and I wish I remembered which one it was specifically because it would make things so much easier to talk about. But I just think that like this last one, right? Like I thought it was fine. Like it did the thing that it needed to do where it started with one big first party and ended with a big first party.
Yeah.
So we got Soros and then it ended with Wolverine and that was great. And it had like I do think it had like notable things throughout it. Like, oh, we got like a Suda 51 concept game and like, oh, we got a different Suda 51 like sequel game and like uh an interesting like new IP with like an indie vibe but like a little bit more higher budget. It seemed like cool, but it just didn't have like anything super major that I like walked away being like, I'm really excited for like this third party game that was shown like here. Like that was like one of the things that we talked about that I think we talked about during the direct episode that I was like kind of surprised that um tactics was revealed at the state of play instead of like a direct because I think that made a lot more sense. It's like a lot more like what you would expect from not just Square but like Nintendo.
Yeah.
Um, but also because Tactics was originally a PlayStation title, that was probably like in the mindset of them when they decided to make that deal. We're like,
Yeah.
oh, let's like announce this on a
And
PlayStation themed thing because this is a PlayStation darling.
yeah, especially because it is a darling, right? Like, because there have been other like old like PS1 Square Enix games that got remasters revealed at Nintendo Directs, but a lot more of those were like kind of cult hits, right? Like Saga
Chrono
Frontier,
Cross.
yeah, Chrono Cross, Saga Frontier. These are games that have their fans, but like they're not like people aren't necessarily putting them on top 10 lists for the PlayStation, right? And Final Fantasy Tactics is one of those games that gets into the conversation and is like a genre defining big release from that time. Uh, and so I think there was a bit of that logic that went into like, hey, we have to like, we're going to show that off here. And maybe it was just PlayStation was looking for something big to push. And, we were between the AAA kind of bigger budget Square Enix releases, like 16 was out. 7 Rebirth was already out. It's like, what's next? Kingdom Hearts 4 is gonna be a minute, guys. Here, we can announce this. Uh, yeah, I'm sure there's multiple things that go into like why a multi-platform release picks where they go.
Yeah, and I just think that like with state of play, I think it's really telling about how much of a lack of third party like notable third party presence there is at like a state of play versus a direct where like when there is a major like PS5 exclusive that's third party, like when Rebirth, right? When Rebirth was doing all their marketing push and stuff like that. For me, I was like, I'm watching this state of play with the hopes that specifically we're getting Rebirth stuff,
Yeah.
right? And like that's not how I should feel about a state of play. That's not how you should feel about a presentation.
Yeah,
Like obviously, like there's hopes, like every major presentation, like specifically like a Jeff Keighley joint. I'm like, hey, maybe Kingdom Hearts 4 will show up, but I'm not like that's not why I'm tuning in.
sure.
And I think that that is one of the things that State of Play needs to like figure out, and it's hard because most of these companies that end up getting like some sort of deal with PlayStation, I would not be surprised if it was like they tried to do something with Nintendo first and Nintendo passed on them,
Yeah. Well,
and then PlayStation was like, "We'll take you."
yeah, and this comes to a problem that I've actually been sitting on for a little bit in my head when it comes to state of plays. And this gets into, you know, the kind of games that we like and genre. Genre is always an upcoming thing of like why you think a presentation was good or not, because it has to ultimately have things that you're excited about. That's one of the kind of relative things about it. Um, for the most part, state of plays have felt much more Western oriented. In
Hmm.
the concept of how you define Western versus Eastern game design in video games. Like it's kind of a nothing burger, but it's also kind of a real thing in terms of like, look, there are games that, regardless of who develops them, there's kind of a target audience of like, oh, like this is a little bit more Western vibe, or this is a little bit more like JRPG Japanese vibe, um, and it really does feel like State of Plays on the first party side, the games that tend to get emphasized, Insomniac Wolverine, Soros, the new game coming from, I'm blanking on their name right now, but Returnal dev.
Housemark.
Yeah, Housemark. Um, and PlayStation, and like this has just been, I think, a long-standing thing with PlayStation in general the last like generation and a half, right? Is there's been a bigger and bigger push towards what feels like a more Western audience push, and it's like I like those things. I'm excited for Wolverine. I'm excited to check out Soros, but like the stuff that gets me excited nowadays, lately, I have found myself even more like getting more and more excited for Capcom, Square Enix, Sega than like it's always been kind of true, but I feel like I've always been like, no, no, no. Like I also really like stuff that's coming from a lot of Western devs. And like there is stuff I'm excited for. We were talking about stuff earlier, but when I look at the overall slate and the stuff that actually does like get my hype going, I feel like that's been showing up less and less at state of plays and PlayStation presentations in general. Um, and that's part of what I think has given me that feeling these last like so many years.
Yeah, I mean, I think you make very good points, and again, this is actually something that I was talking about with my friend who's a big Souls-like fan, at Magic Night on Friday. Is that like, um, Western gaming feels like they're kind of in a crisis right now, in a sense of like, outside of Baldur's Gate 3, what was like the last like really big Western release that came out that like really blew up? I'm
Right.
not
Not
saying that
going like
they're
indie level type stuff, right?
yeah, and I'm not like, and to be clear, like I'm not saying that there weren't certain games that were like successful like of recent years, like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, right? Like I think that even though a lot of people aren't talking about it, I still think that's in the game of the year conversation. Like, is it going to win? Probably not based off the narratives that are going on, but
Yeah.
like I think it's if you were like, oh, what's one of the top 5 games that came out this year? I think most people that have played Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 would say Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
Well,
But
and
I'm not saying that it's like it's getting the push or like the level of exposure that like a Baldur's Gate 3 did.
yeah. Well, and what's rough too is that you bring that up as a specific example. That's a game that uh is that's where we get into the weird space of like what makes something indie. But it's like a lot of the biggest, I think, most successful culture shifting AAA Western games have been games not from traditionally big associated companies.
Mhm.
Uh, you know, the original Kingdom Come game was a Kickstarter title. Uh,
Yeah.
and this is still from, as far as I know, they didn't end up like who published it, like Deep Silver or something, right? Like it's not like it's a game. It is a game that is more associated with its developer than like being underneath some kind of big publisher umbrella. Because while I have enjoyed games that have come out, published by Xbox or EA, or pre-acquisition Activision, Ubisoft as well, I would struggle to pick any of those games as being something that was like, oh, this was like the big awesome title of this year for me. You know,
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate 3 came from Larian, who just, they're using a license that's a big pre-existing thing, but they also did it all themselves. And, they weren't underneath some kind of major parent company that is associated as like a dynasty of Western game development. They kind of made up their own rules, and it went great. Um, we were
Yeah,
talking
and
earlier about like Assassin's Creed, right? Like, I like Assassin's Creed, but my general energy level for Ubisoft is not exactly high
it's the
right
lowest it's
now.
ever been. It's the lowest it's ever been.
Yeah.
Like for and again, as someone who loves played every Assassin's Creed game outside of Mirage, which I do want to play and need to get back to, and Shadows, like, there's very little to be excited about with Ubisoft, because the things that people were excited about just are in limbo. Prince of Persia remake, Sands of Time remake, sure, and then Beyond Good and
Beyond Good
Evil
and Evil
2,
2.
sure, sure.
Who knows?
Like,
Yeah.
Ubisoft was like doing really cool things, like, like not super long ago, right? Like less than 10 years ago, like they were doing really cool stuff, like Mario and Rabbids, which was a huge success, and we got Sparks of Hope, and unfortunately that didn't like perform super well, despite it being a great game, like super great game.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ubisoft is in a weird place. BioWare, especially now,
Yeah.
because we didn't talk about it because it's not really relative to JRPGs, but EA has gone private. It's basically owned by the Saudis now, and
It's
like,
going to it's a consortium of three different organizations, one of which is the Saudi fund. And the deal technically hasn't like fully gone through yet, but that is currently like, assuming FTC and such doesn't decide to put a foot down, which, I mean, hell, Xbox happened, so
yeah, yeah,
I feel like that's pretty much confirmation that this is going to happen as well. Um, yeah, not feeling great right now as a BioWare fan who has already been conflicted about them basically ever since acquisition from EA. But yeah, it's rough. And this is a whole other tangent about like Western versus Eastern game development, but I think that does fuel a lot of my presentation hype. Is like, I have found myself caring less and less and less about a lot of the big name Western game development teams. Not to say there aren't some releases I'm very excited for and I think are going to be great, but just the general health and direction of it is not something I've been vibing lately. And so when a presentation leans in the direction, which I think state of plays have been, it just doesn't do as much for me. Whereas like Nintendo, right? Like, by default, first party Nintendo is going to bring a lot of that energy with their own games. And
yes,
then, Square Enix has basically become the second sponsor of directs. Like, it's just like an
yeah,
inevitable thing that you're going to get something Square Enix at them.
yeah.
Um,
Capcom as well. Capcom
Capcom.
has a lot, gives
Yep.
a lot of love to Nintendo as
Yeah.
well.
Sega's really the one that kind of sits it out a little bit because they end up doing a lot of advertising with Xbox,
Yeah,
which
they
I
get the
think is
game.
part of why I've been enjoying Xbox presentations more.
Yeah, they get the Game Pass money, and now, but that's another thing now, like, right, with the Game Pass increase, like, because that was how I played. I mean, granted, I got the collector's edition too, but like, I played Persona 3 Reload through Game Pass, and I played like a bunch of other
Yeah.
games through Game Pass
Well,
that now,
when I
at this
first
point,
when I
like, if
first
it, like, sorry, like, if the next like big JRPG from Atlas, like, again, Persona 4 Revival comes to Game Pass, probably just gonna buy the game day one and just play it that way because I would just rather do that.
yeah. No, that was how I when I first like decided to finally give Yakuza a try. Like, I did, that was after they had brought all of it to Game Pass. And so Game Pass was how I got through all those games. I ended up rebuying them all physically for PlayStation. Because that just felt like in general, I've just, well, for me the thing has been that like Xbox has gone all digital. Like, I've just embraced Xbox as my digital system, and if I'm buying games to hold physically, PlayStation is where I buy them. And so I've actually bought a lot of games for other platforms because of Xbox Game Pass, which is
Oh yeah,
kind of funny.
it's funny because I'm pretty sure I talked about it before, but like I did the opposite where I bought all of the games on PlayStation physically, and right after I bought everything physically, and when I mean everything, I mean 0 through 6.
Sure.
And this was after playing Like a Dragon. I get the announcement, hey, they're all on Game Pass now, and I'm like, well,
Oops.
that's where I'm playing them now. And I still don't regret it because PlayStation is the only platform where you can get physicals for every Yakuza title. Because The Man Who Erased His Name did not get an Xbox release.
Yep.
So I still need to buy Ishin and Ishin and I believe Infinite Wealth, and then after that I'll be all caught up for my physical Yakuza, and then I did do the limited run for Xbox. So, you know, that's all taken care of as well. But yeah, so I get it.
Yeah.
Um
The fifth tangent we've had aside, I think the main point I'm going for here is just that
it's
like
all relative, it's all
oh no, it's all yeah,
connected.
it's all it's yeah. It's all tied in. They are tangents. They are tied back to it. But I guess
Yeah.
just to bring it back home, like again, the idea is just that like, I think there's a lot of things happening in the industry in general that are frustrating and tiring, and I think are draining a lot of the energy out of being able to be excited about things in the first place. And I think the presentations that I've been able to enjoy more in the last 5-6 years are the ones that focus on like the companies and general like development strategies that I just feel better about. Like look, I'm not going to say I love everything Square Enix does. There was a lot of mistakes they made, especially roughly five. Like the best and worst thing they ever did was getting rid of their like Western publishing arm because they were mismanaging the hell out of that for so long. And it's also like a pain to think about what could have been for some of those games and stuff. And like things that got like completely overlooked that should have. Like Guardians of the Galaxy, incredible game that no one
So
gave a
good.
shot because Marvel's Avengers
So good.
happened first and Square Enix just did not know what they were doing with how they handled a lot of these companies. And since shifting back to like focusing on their own stuff first party wise, again, still some missteps here and there that I don't love, but I have overall enjoyed their output far more. Some of that is the nostalgia bait of how many remasters and remakes we've been getting. Um, but like even with like, Final Fantasy VII remake and rebirth, like I'm loving it. Capcom, I think more than any other company out there right now, Capcom is on fire. Like,
Yes.
every
Capcom is
announcements from them, like I think they are the most consistent company right now. And not to say that there aren't missteps there as well. Like, the latest Monster Hunter did not have the reaction I think they wanted to in terms of, getting new people into it and keeping series fans happy. I think they tried doing both and ended up kind of accomplishing neither, at least to the extent they wanted to. But even then, what's been going on with Resident Evil, what's been going on with like some franchises coming back, and still seeing new IPs with like Pragmata. Like I think there's a lot of great energy there that we're not seeing from everyone else. And then Sega, like I have my qualms with some specific franchises, but like Yakuza's going strong for the most part. Sonic like is getting some love again. Uh, Persona and
Ellis.
everything Atlas is doing great. Uh, yeah, I just feel more, I think, energy from like there's more hype there. And when I think of Western games I'm excited for, it's the indie sector and like some very specific developers that are kind of just doing their own thing anyways. We were just talking about how much I've been enjoying Hades 2. Supergiant Games is awesome. They're an indie dev. At a certain higher income bracket than like, someone making a solo dev project, but
Yeah,
like
it's hard for me to consider Hades 2 an indie game now, like, personally, but
I get it.
I think that there's
It's
definitely a discussion there,
it
but
is what does indie actually mean, right? Because Baldur's Gate
yeah.
3 is technically an indie release. And it's like, yes, but it's
No.
not in the way
No.
that like we're having this conversation.
Yeah, like,
It is literally
yeah,
independent. It is not necessarily
indie genre, I would not know.
sure. Or like I think indie has a when we say indie, what we really mean is like lower tier production
Budget,
like capabilities.
yeah,
Yeah, like small
yeah,
team, they're not getting backing from like a big company, and they're making something work on like limitations that, certain companies at this point are still independent, but they have the money to make it work, like with Supergiant and Larian.
yeah. Yeah, just, uh, echo everything that you say is that, like, there's, um it's I mean, honestly, I think at the end of the day, it shows just, like, we give Nintendo shit for some of their choices, but, like, I think those choices are literally, like, what has kept them ahead. Where, like, they haven't, like, followed, like, major trends. They've basically kind of like done their own thing. And because they've just been established long enough where people are going to show up. Like, you know what I mean? People are going to do the things that they want to do. And they were like the ones that basically introduced like, hey, this is how we're going to do presentations moving forward, and people flocked to that.
Yeah.
And other companies are trying to do that. And while they, some of them have recognized that they can't do it the same way because they know they can't do it as good as Nintendo. um it really just feels like that they were just so ahead of everyone,
Yeah.
like 10 years ago, right? And people are like, and instead of people trying to catch up to them, they we see Xbox and PlayStation trying to, and other big third parties are like, hey, let's follow these other trends that are definitely going to run out of gas and definitely aren't going to have the return on investment that they think that it's going to have. Because there's just been, that gets into the whole like live
Live
service
service. Yeah.
genre, and like how people are trying to like, do the whole thing of like, all right, here's this live service game, but we get it this time. And it just doesn't happen. It
Yeah.
just doesn't. And there are games that I really, really like that were like new live service titles that just didn't get the exposure or support. Not even like support, but just like the fans just didn't come to it. Players didn't come to it
Yeah.
because they're playing other stuff. Like, why would
Yeah.
I leave this game that works for this game?
By all accounts, every person I've talked to who actually put the time in to play Concord thought it was a great game that was actually like doing some things a little bit different, but it didn't have the character designs, it didn't have the initial hype, and no one showed up for it when it launched, and PlayStation didn't even try to salvage it. They just cut that loss off immediately.
Yeah, and then there's like a game that I really liked that I played last year at SGF, Fragpunk. Like that was a
I
really,
forgot
really,
about Fragpunk.
it
Yeah.
was really good. It was really good. It was like, hey, let's do Valorant, but like let's make every round like fundamentally different and have this like card voting system. And it was really, really cool. I mean, it's still going, but it just like it was like one of my favorite things that I saw at SGF that year. But why are people gonna go to Fragpunk when they can play Valorant still? Like, why are they gonna play this game when they're still playing Overwatch or Call of Duty or Fortnite? Like, yeah, we're not trying to make this the live service podcast,
Yeah.
but I think it just goes in to show that like Nintendo has been, when it comes to their directs, when it comes to like their presentations and how they like have been able to kind of control their own narrative, and also just
Yeah.
like uh the way that they do things, um is just like really like not commendable, but it's just like I applaud them for it,
Yeah.
where they just have really been killing it.
Yeah.
And again, there's certain things that like that they do that we're not happy about. Like, I'm not happy that Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 is $70,
Yep.
but Nintendo's going to do what they are going to do. And I think like when it comes to like the really big choices that they've done over the past like 10 years since like the Switch came out, we've really seen the payoff there. Where they are just absolutely killing it now. And then we're seeing things like Xbox Game Pass hitting $30. Um, they're trying to get like a bigger Japanese presence, which kind of has been working like with like the main stream titles, but not in a major way, I would say. And then PlayStation is doing their thing, but like they're having like a bit of a crisis as well because they're not able to like release big first party titles every year the way that Nintendo does. They don't have like that infrastructure that Nintendo does.
Yeah.
On
Well,
top
and
of just like prices going up and things like that.
Yeah, and the scope and goal of what's being made, right? Like, I mean, it's I'm sure Nintendo has their more expensive games that they've made, but like I doubt Donkey Kong Bonanza ended up raking in the amount of resources and costs that like Ghost of Yotei did, right? Like, it's just like
Mhm.
there's just a whole other level of production going on when you're trying to do these like cinematic realism driven visuals and bringing that to life. And like that's part of I think what plays in the whole state of play direct thing too, right? Is that like Nintendo just has more things to talk about that are first party, and PlayStation is I think always trying to balance out. We don't want to talk about a certain game too much, but then how do we fill the time between these big releases? Because this year was Death Stranding and Yotei, and like both games extremely well received and probably awesome. I haven't had a chance to dive into either one yet, but it's like you look at that versus Nintendo is having monthly releases, and you know I like these big budget ones, but I kind of like the regularity more. If I had to pick,
Yeah. No, yeah, it's tough. And like part of that also has to just do with the amount of IP that Nintendo has,
sure,
and the amount of previous games that they've made first party versus PlayStation. Cause like, so cause Nintendo, like, don't get me wrong, I love Nintendo's Switch's library, but probably like I mean this is just like a spitball, but like I'd probably say like around half, maybe lower than half of their first party Switch library are ports, right? Like
yeah,
they're not like new games, but like I'm not mad at that. Like I'm cool with that.
yeah.
And I don't think that PlayStation has like the catalog to really do that.
Sure. Well, like pre PS3, right? Like most of the big things that people associate with PlayStation weren't actually PlayStation owned, and have
Yeah.
now gone multi-platform in later years, or even changed ownership. Like Crash Bandicoot, that's not remotely PlayStation anymore.
Yeah.
And you look at like a lot of the franchises celebrated in like Astrobot, right? Most of the stuff that's PS1, PS2 era, Square, Capcom, Sega. Like it's not, it is not first party things. Konami with like Metal Gear Solid and Suikoden. Like these are games that were iconic for that platform, but it was never truly owned by that platform. It's just where they all were developing back in the day.
Yeah, I also think that has to do with Nintendo making that, having both a physical home console as well as a uh handheld console, because that allowed for them to expand their profile that way as well. Where like now we're getting all these ports, and some of these ports are from the handheld consoles, and some are from the at-home consoles. And like we're getting we got like a remake of Mario versus Donkey Kong, which was like a Game Boy Advance game. And so like, yeah, it's like I don't know if it's just I don't know if it is like just a convenience thing, or if it is a luck thing, but just like I think that just Nintendo is very aware of what they have access to, and have been able to utilize them in major ways. Because another thing that we don't really talk about either is that there aren't a whole lot of Western studios that do work specifically on like ports and remakes, like where you get these like you get like these first party companies asking these studios to be like, hey, here's our IP, can you do a remaster, can you do a remake?
Yeah.
Because
All I can
if
really
they
think of are like Night Dive and Aspire, and like those are both catering to very specific games that they're remastering and remaking.
Yeah, and I think that like we need more, like the West needs more of that,
Yeah,
because that would allow PlayStation to be like, hey, remaster Jack 1 and 2 and 3, like, right? And let's get those out there, and like, hey, remaster this game, let's get that out there, because they're not going to have their main studios do that.
yeah,
And so I don't know, it's one of it's one of those things where I just like look at what Nintendo has done over the past 10 years with the directs and with their presentations. And it's like, that's something that I have just kind of taken notice of from just general observation and just the recency of like Western titles and
Yeah.
the lack of like there's not a whole lot going on there.
Yeah. I think the way this all ties together is that ultimately there are a lot of things that can go into making a presentation appealing to one individual person or another. But I think the biggest thing that impacts the kind of most objective version of whether or not people are excited about these presentations or not is how they're reflective of just the general health of the thing they're kind of coming from. Um, and that's not to say I don't like things coming from, Xbox published studios and that I'm not excited about things coming from PlayStation published studios, but I just look at the general energy and vibe. And like we were kind of saying earlier, like there's bad directs, but even the worst direct, I think, still sometimes ends up coming in a little more energetic than like a good state of play.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it has to do with just the state the industry is in and how that is reflected in what we're trying to get people excited about.
Mhm. Yep. We'll we'll see. We'll see if anything if happens cuz again, I do think that Xbox and PlayStation like presentations have gotten better.
Sure.
Um I just don't know if they'll ever like get into a place where it's like I'm going to be particularly excited about a state of play or I'm going to be particularly excited about um a Xbox developer direct
Yeah.
versus like a Nintendo direct.
I think I will say, at least for Xbox, as much guff as I give about certain things, I actually do get excited for the developer directs, and part of that is because I think it is a once a year thing, and you kind of know what you're getting when you go in. They're like, look, there's 4 games that you already know about, you're excited about, we're gonna go in depth on, and maybe we'll have one surprise, and like,
Mm,
there you go. Like that's I think Xbox figured out the right way to balance expectation setting.
mhm.
And I think that's part of the issue that PlayStation has been running into, in that I don't think they ever really do the only expectation setting they've really done in recent memory is they stopped trying to brand something as a summer showcase, and they're just like, this is just a slightly bigger state of play. We're not There's not like a PlayStation experience. There's not a PlayStation, like we're not doing what we call a showcase. Like it's just more state of plays. And I think that helped lower the expectations for some of those ones. And those ended up being like, I thought the
That's
summer
yeah.
one was like solid, but it was solid for a state of play. Whereas if that was called like PlayStation Summer Showcase, it would have maybe been a little more mixed potentially. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. It's rough out here,
Alrighty.
folks.
Yep. Well, I think we can call it there. That was a good discussion. Uh Kevin, do you have anything for the people before we dip out?
Nah, not today.
All right, everybody. You can follow me on socials at Cam Final Mix, and you can follow Kevin on socials at Kevin Kenson. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode, and until next time, we will catch you later.
Later.